This is the part 2 for national and local government economic policy and the built environment. We're going to look at the lecture outline first. We're going to look at the definition of the multiplier process, the methods for multiplier, whether it's positive or negative, the formula for calculation, the factors that affect the value of the multiplier effect, and the accelerator effect. The multiplier process can be defined as the process that magnifies the net impact of an alteration in the economy. For example, if there is an injection by the government, like the government expenditure increase, we call it as injection. So when there is injection, there will be a multiplier process. Due to this injection, it will stimulate the economy and giving more income to the country. There are two types of multiplier process, which are the positive multiplier and the negative multiplier. K here indicates the symbol for the multiplier. The U here is the notation to indicate that the multiplier is upwards, whereas D here is a notation to indicate that the multiplier is downwards. Whereas the D, there are two D, D one for injection and one for leakage, right, for negative. So if there is a change in the injection and if there is a change in leakage. Whereas the MPC is the marginal propensity to consume. What is MPC? For the marginal prosperity to consume, which is the MPC, it means that if the consumer have high propensity to consume, which is have high MPC, it means that they spend the large majority of their income and save little. So the MPC is actually a useful economic concept in the multiplier process. It's simply measure of how much consumers spend out of their increment in their income. The MPC is calculated as the change in consumption divided by change in income. For example, if there is an increase in the salary, the change in the consumption because of the increase of the salary divided by the change in income when the salary increase. If the MPC was 4, this means that for each extra money in the income, they spend RM 4 ringgit. The consumption is RM 4 ringgit. And another example here, an MPC of 0.8 suggests that for every 1% increase in income, consumer will spend 80% of each 1% raise, and thus only save 20% of each 1% raise. Then for Malaysia, the MPCs may vary from 0.81 for those earning below 1,000 to 0.25 for those earning above 10,000. So those who earn lower will have a higher MPC, and the opposite, if those who earn higher will have a lower MPC. The higher MPC, the higher the multiplier. It means more money is passed on each stage. So usually, people who earn less money or live in the poorer country usually have higher MPCs. One of the type of the multiplier process is the positive or outwards multiplier. It will occur when there is an initial injection of money into the economy. So the multiplier process will be positive if the government increase an injection into the economy. For example, they will spend more, increase the level of investment, and increase the volume of export orders. In this case, the mechanism behind the multiplier process will suggest that the overall impact on the economy will be far greater than the initial raise in government expenditure due to the series of chain reaction that such an injection will set off. That's why nama dia multiplier, right? So dia ada chain reaction. Let's look at the example here. The government spend more money on public buildings, The construction firms were employed to carry out the works and thus take workers to undertake more contracts. And next, the reaction, okay, the construction firms will order the materials, and the material supply industry employed more workers to cope with the orders, right? So many people were employed and more people to spend the shop as more goods and services are purchased, right? And then retail sector need to order more supplies and take more workers and staff. Hence, the consumer prosperity can lead to the prosperity in both retail and property market and industrial property market. So, you nampak macam mana how it will affect the other industry as well. And this is what we call as the multiplier process ataupun the chain reaction. Let's look at the calculation example for the positive multiplier, right? Assuming injection of RM 100 million of government expenditure, marginal propensity of 0.6. Therefore, masukkan dalam this formula, so the D injection is that RM 100 million. And then 1 minus the MPC, which is 0.6. Then we will get the value of KU ataupun the positive multiplier ni adalah 250 million. Therefore, although government expenditure was only increased by 100 million, okay, because of the chain reaction is set off, the overall level of activity in economy has been increased by the further RM 150 million. So, to produce a total effect of 250 million. So, initially the investment is only 100 million, tapi dia beranak-ranak due to the multiplier process. Then, at the end, akan dapat the total income ataupun the total money in the economy as much as RM 250 million. The next multiplier process is the negative multiplier. Right? The negative multiplier are induced when there is a withdrawal, leakage, whereby the spending power is taken out of the economy. If we increase a leakage or outflow from the economy, such an increase in expenditure on import foreign goods, okay, jadi kita lebih kepada investment kepada luar negara, increase expenditure, kita membazirkan duit di luar negara, the multiplier will be negative and will tend to create downwardly spiraling effect of declining incomes. For instance, people's spending power being reduced by taxation, hence they have less money to spend, therefore the demand will fall. So kalau government increase the income tax, for example, or they tarik balik those tax exemption, okay, people will have less power to buy the product and services. It will cause the demand to fall. Okay, so we look at the example in theory, right? Leakage increases, okay, so will cause the consumer demand to fall. So there will be less spend of goods and services by the consumers. Therefore, the retail sector will record drop in sales and will conduct less business, mungkin business pun tutup. And then supplier also will be affected because of the less order, and there will be need to lay off the workers who are no longer needed. As more people become unemployed, they will spend less in the shops. Example for the calculation, right? So if the overall income tax burden on the economy had risen by RM 80 million, and the MPC 0.6, therefore, so masukkan dalam formula for the negative multiplier. Negative 0.6 times with the D leakage, okay, which is the 80 million, and then 1 minus the MPC, which is 0.6. So the value for negative multiplier is negative 120 million. Therefore, because of the sequence of event that are set off by negative multiplier, mungkin tax burden ni risen sebanyak 80 million saja, tapi due to the chain effect, it will cost more than 80 million, as much as 120 million decrease in the overall income. Next, let's look at the factor that affect the value of multiplier. First is the propensity to consume. Maksudnya, kecenderungan untuk mengconsume. Maksudnya, the Malaysian, meaning kalau kita dapat increase in the salary, so we have the tendency to consume. Whereas another one is the propensity to purchase import. Maksudnya kecenderungan untuk membeli barangan import. Right. So usually if you look at the propensity to consume, this one more to the positive multiplier. Whereas the propensity to purchase import, this one is more on the negative multiplier. Let's look at the accelerator effect. The accelerator effect is the term used to describe the economic effect that private investment has on the growth of a market. Right, so the accelerator effect examines the effect on the level of investment from a change in economic output, or if there is demand for a product. Okay, so the accelerator effect states that investment level are related to the rate of the change in GDP. Therefore, if there is an increase in the rate of the economic growth, it will have a corresponding larger increase in the level of investment from the private sector. The firms will respond to the growing demand by expanding the production and making fuller use of their existing productive capacity due to the higher increase in demand. Okay, the higher level of demand will be sustained. Okay, they may choose to increase spending on the capital goods such as plant and machineries, factories and new technology in order to increase their capacity. In terms of the economic prosperity, a country economy will see increases or acceleration in various areas, termasuk profit. So ini dia akan nampak, the companies akan nampak there's a profit in this. Sales pun akan increase and the cash flow akan increase. The implications of the accelerator effect. There are 4 types of implication. One is the investment tends to be more volatile than the economic growth. Okay, mungkin investment ni tak menentu walaupun ekonomi tengah naik. The rate of economic growth stay the same as well as the investment. Okay, mungkin investment sama, economic growth pun akan sama. And then investment spending can fall even when the GDP is rising. Okay, so tak semestinya bila GDP ni naik, investment ni akan naik because sometimes this investor can berhati-hati. Okay, this is because if there is a fall in the rate of economic growth, firm may invest less. Jadi mereka berjaga-jagalah. So if GDP falls, investment spending can fall very significantly, right? So this is the implication of the accelerator effect. That will be all for this topic. Thank you so much and have a nice day.